booking mobile app. That's a lot of logistics booking mobile app, got it. It was founded in 2011, and they've built the largest logistics fleet in Hong Kong, including more than 18,000 cargo vans and trucks in less than a year. Last year, Stephen launched GoGoVAN in Singapore, and he aims to build the next generation online to offline logistics network. Prior to GoGoVAN, he was a community manager for event startup Propeller. And before that, he was an analyst at Bank of America Merrill Lynch in San Francisco. Apparently, because Stephen has a lot of free time while setting up all of this startup. Outside of work, he's also very active in community and public service. He was a future leader of Hong Kong recipient. He served as a UNICEF Young Envoy in Hong Kong for 2 years. He interned for US Congressman George Miller from 2007 to 2008. And he's volunteered for the Berkeley Club of Hong Kong for a number of years after moving back to his hometown of Hong Kong. Stephen holds a Bachelor's of Science from Berkeley's Haas School of Business, and he also studied at Fudan. Welcome. Our second panelist tonight is Tony Malk. Tony is the founder and CEO of 5Media. 5Media develops and publishes really, really fun mobile games, including top-ranked franchises like, I love these names, Girl Town, Flip Pigs, and Push the Buttons. Previously, Tony made VC investments while working with O'Reilly Alpha Tech Ventures, investors in Foursquare, TripIt, and Fastly. And before that, he worked for Redme in product management and sales engineering. At Redme, he was responsible for the highest revenue-generating product line, and he built a new international sales organization. And before that, he co-founded a social applications business, which was later sold to Zoosk, the largest social dating network. Tony used to work for Newbury Ventures and UBS Investment. He's also held engineering roles at Cisco, Ciena, and CGI Group. He's got a degree in computer engineering from the University of Waterloo and an MBA from UC Berkeley, where he was awarded the Price Fellowship Award and the Gloria Apple Award for Leadership in Entrepreneurship. Welcome. And finally, we have Tracy Wong. Tracy and her two co-founders are at HiStreet, are developing a mobile app to revolutionize the retail directory scene. Using a unique process to index all of Hong Kong, HiStreet can guarantee a complete and accurate database of the city's complex retail landscape. The app is scheduled to launch in October 2015, and Tracy is managing operations and marketing for the startup. She graduated from UC Berkeley with a degree in molecular environmental biology. Makes total sense that she's in retail now. And after graduation, she worked in medical research before starting her photography business to pursue a passion. She's a really strong advocate for her community, and she's active not only in the startup world, but also the photography world, organizing meetups through Instagram to explore hidden photogenic sites throughout the city, and offering her skills as a photographer and instructor for various NGOs. Welcome. And then finally, our panel moderator for the evening, Peter Yu. Aside from the very important job of being a co-vice president for the Berkeley Club of Hong Kong, he's also got over 20 years of business and technology experience in the Americas and in APAC. He currently leads strategy and marketing for Maltech. Okay. It's a strategic move right there. You can see why he leads strategy and marketing for Maltech. And he serves as the chief of staff for the company's president. Maltech's technologies enable products such as the leading smart glasses, fitness bands, wearable cameras, electric cars, and much more. And before Maltech, Peter spent nearly a decade at Oracle, leading strategy, sales, consulting, development, operations, and other teams across multiple continents. Earlier in his career, Peter helped turn around Gateway by growing Asia and Latin America businesses by 75%. and he was a case team leader and management consultant at Bain. He started with IBM, and he holds an MBA with honors from UCLA, a bachelor's from Berkeley, and an FIDE master title in chess. What a dumb guy. On the entrepreneurial front, Peter is a founding partner of a real estate private equity firm that was launched in the aftermath of America's subprime mortgage crisis. Since 2012, Equity Residences funds have utilized the buyer's market in the US, as well as Airbnb's efficiency and ubiquity to deliver really stellar returns. And with that, I will pass the floor over to Peter.
Thank you, Vaish. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to our panel discussion event for Berkeley Club of Hong Kong, hosted at Paperclip. Again, thank you for spending your Monday evening with us. And also, special thanks to our wonderful panelists, Stephen, Tony, and Tracy. So, as Vaishnavi mentioned, we're going to go through some questions that we think many folks might be interested in, get the insights of our panelists, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So think about what you want to ask so that when we get to that point, we don't have silence in the room. And now, since Stephen's been sitting patiently, because he was the first one up here, I'm going to kick it off with a question for Stephen. And it's a question I'm going to ask all three panelists. What made you decide to be an entrepreneur?
My answer is kind of stupid. I guess I'm born to be an entrepreneur because it's something that those skills that you make you be an entrepreneur or something that you can learn. You just like try to be one and see if you are successful or not. I grew up in a really kind of in Hong Kong, this term is Gong, it's like public estate here. I'm still living in those public estate in Hong Kong in Nanjing. Without much support from the family, I'm from a really poor family here. So since I'm a kid, I learned how to make something by myself. I guess that's the requirement, and then the element why make me as an entrepreneur later on. I learned how to, back in the days we have a very popular do-it-yourself computer in Hong Kong. I help people repair computers when I was in high school. High school. So because my dad is a remodeling worker, he brought home a kind of a very old computer one day, and then told me, "Hey kid, this is very cool stuff, computer." And then we spent hours and hours to connect the monitor, keyboard, and the computer together. And then what I saw was like a grass screen with a white dot flashing, and then wow, this computer. Then I managed how to install games and stuff like that on it. And then I computer broke all the time, and then I learned how to fix it by myself by picking up some spare parts in Golden shopping center. And I asked the people, okay, my computer is looking like this, how can I fix it? They will tell you the solution. But it's not necessary for you to buy the parts from them. You just need to go around, like those trash can or whatever it is, and then pick up something and then try to fix it. And that's how I learned how to fix stuff by myself. And then later on, I got a chance to study in America. I work in Chinese restaurant and to make all my living there. I pay for Berkeley by myself, every single penny, even I'm out of state. I sold hot dog in school. I sold first generation iPhone on eBay. I fixed used car by learning how to fix a car on YouTube. So trust me, Google is the best professor on and YouTube is the best kind of like teacher, because it will teach you step by step. Just search a model of a car, Honda 1993 or 95, Civic or something. You want to install a stereo, brand new stereo in it. They will tell you go through step by step how to which screw to take out, what kind of parts you buy. So you don't need to pay; it's free. So that's how I learned all my stuff, and that's why I guess I'm an entrepreneur.
That's a wonderful answer. Your story about building computers reminds us of another famous, founder, Wozniak, right? He's a co-founder of Berkeley alum, co-founder of Apple, and then there's some other guy who went to Stanford. I forgot his name. Anyways, wonderful story. So Tony, that's a tough act to follow, but I know you can do it. What made you decide to be an entrepreneur?
Well, the first thing, entrepreneurship, I think, is about creativity and working very, 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 very hard. Very often on outcomes that are unknown, in a path that where you're gonna run into a lot of roadblocks. And it's this process of creating something, having an idea, going ahead and building something. Prior to starting my own company, I was fortunate to have worked in other companies where this culture existed, and the job that I was working in allowed me to create a product for my customers of the companies I've worked on behalf of. And fortunate or unfortunate, I did work as an intern in the late 90s. So I saw some of the bosses that I was working for who had the companies acquired. During a downturn, I joined a company which eventually did go IPO in 2004, 2005, despite the markets being very poor. And I thought, okay, well, certainly other people have done it. Why can't I? And so when I entered into business school, while I was in school, I was actually programming during my first year and second year of class, usually sitting in the back. And that, my first product was creating a platform for small businesses to purchase custom-made bags and boxes in small quantities. So it's kind of like the SaaS of a cafe press for small businesses. And getting that first sale, having worked so hard, and then doing all the operations and fulfillment to deliver to one of the customers, I think was incredibly rewarding. And once you get that sense of satisfaction of that first product, or it could be something very small, or it could be a service that you deliver to customers, something you create by yourself. Sorry. Something you create by yourself. I think the satisfaction that you gain from all that you've done, it becomes very addictive. And so you keep on doing it again, and you fail again, and you do it again, and fail again, and do it again. And that's why I'm still here.
Thank you, Tony. And last but not least, Tracy.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. My entrepreneurial story started when I wanted to switch from working in a lab. As you mentioned earlier, I was a molecular environmental bio major. So I was working in a lab and it just didn't feel really that job satisfaction. It was kind of like doing something that a robot could do, right? It was cool. I was in like a biohazard suit in a lab, working in the hood, but it wasn't really for me. I wanted something where I could really build right from the start, and kind of like similar to what Tony was saying. I think that satisfaction of doing something from scratch and watching it grow is really, really fulfilling. So I started my photography business about 5 years ago, back in California, and then I came back to Hong Kong about a year ago. And that was where I met my co-founder Leo behind HiStreet. And so now the three of us are doing HiStreet together. And I think for me, transitioning from something like photography into tech wasn't so scary because I felt I was well supported. I'm the creative, I'm the talkative person. Leo's the business guy, he's the numbers guy. There's Bill, who's the technical guy. So I think in a way, it really helped for my transition because I felt like I had a good team.
Great. So having the right team is a critical ingredient.
I think so.
Excellent. So our next question is, what qualities or preparation really helps an entrepreneur increase their chances of success? And I'm going to pose it to Tony first because, Tony, you have the most experience on the panel, myself excluded.
So my answer to this is it's three parts. First, you gotta love your job. You gotta love your job while you're working for somebody else, and also working for your own self. Because if you love your job, that will allow you to work hard. And if you don't like your job, you probably won't go 9 to 5. And I was fortunate to join companies, and companies that allowed me to go from department to department for me to kind of pursue what I wanted to learn and roles that I very much enjoyed. And so throughout my career, I had always been working hard, and because I loved my job, I worked hard. And the third portion of this answer is, I would say, when you work for something that you like, you develop an insight. You develop an insight in know-how, in your skill set. And in the process of kind of refining your skills, you find that like you just know something in that particular task, project, or industry a little bit more than somebody else. And that gives you, I would say, a little bit of an extra edge when you're competing against many other startups who are vying to stay ahead or come out.
Great. Thanks, Tony. And Stephen, what qualities or preparation do you think helped you succeed at GoGoVAN?
Well, quality, there's a lot. Like hardworking, all the stuff that you read on the self-help book, that all the quality you will need that. Because you will face some kind of problem, require this kind of quality, that kind of ability, whatever is make sure. But how to keep going, and what's the preparation that help you succeed? I guess most important is to find a problem to solve first. Instead of you think of a problem. You can't think of a problem. You only experience a problem when you face it, okay? So by the time that I start GoGoVAN, actually it's my third company. So a lot of Berkeley alums here, you guys know what I have been doing since graduate, right? After I graduated, I started a company trying to do crowdfunding here in Hong Kong, which end up I think is a stupid idea. Why is it a stupid idea? Even today, there's no one doing crowdfunding here in Hong Kong. That means there's no market. If it's a good market, then there must be something doing it right now. So that was the time that I think I'm the only genius in the world know how to do crowdfunding here in Hong Kong. So that's kind of the quality that you need to know. After you fail, you're aware, okay, I was stupid. That's the kind of quality that you need to discover by yourself. So after that, I was on the street selling lunch boxes. A lot of you guys know. Totally unrelated to tech. And to start a business, it's not less. Okay, these days we talk about tech, technology all the time, tech startup. But startup, it seems a word that connect to technology, but it's not. It's about running a business. I've been running a lot of business by myself. It doesn't really matter if I put an app on your phone or I put a service on your daily experience. It doesn't really matter. It's a business. So how I started to sell lunch boxes is because I thought that's why I said you can't think of a problem. I thought it's really cool to copy the free newspaper model and put a free advertising model on a lunch boxes. You know, in Hong Kong we have a lot of styrofoam boxes selling around each Chinatown tent, right? Every single day, more than 2 million has been sold every single day here in Hong Kong. 2 million lunch boxes, styrofoam boxes, right? And on the top of it is white, nothing on top of it. So I think it's a really good idea to put an advertisement on top. So before you eat the food inside, you need to read my message. So I thought it's really cool. And it turned out it's not a really bad idea, but it's a good idea to a certain point. You can't scale up. And because of that company, I run that company for 9 months of time. I broke even. I'm sure I told you guys, a lot of people here I met before, I told you guys how cool it is to sell lunch boxes to all these restaurants and for free. You know all this story. But at the end, this is a company that sounds good from my mouth, but actually it's not good. And I cannot scale it. I can barely make a living. And then three co-founder, which is including myself and 2 of my friends I met in California, was the founder of that company called Box App. So we ran into a problem. We can't deliver a lot of boxes every single day. It's a logistic problem. Every single day I call these call centers for a van or a truck to help us to do all this delivery for boxes to those restaurants. At that time, we have over 500 restaurants sign up for our free lunch boxes. Because it's free, of course, they want it. And then the next stage is we need to deliver every single box by ourselves. Because at that time, we cannot scale up to as a manufacturer or a logistic company like Curry Logistics to have it to deliver. So we need to do it ourselves, book all the van and truck starting 6 in the morning. And we need to complete all the delivery before 10. So that's the only time frame, and it's really, really painful process to arrange like 10 van or truck in the morning, just 2 to 3 hours of time. And then because of that problem, we discover another logistics problem here in Hong Kong by talking to a lot of drivers. I put all the drivers I know, the phone number, into a WhatsApp group. So at that time, I know how to text message the drivers to book a van instead of call to those call centers. I thought it's a brilliant idea. But after I have like 10 drivers group, it's kind of like really hard to manage because I told the drivers, whenever I send out a message, the first one answer the message, get the job. So I have 10 groups. By the time I send the message to the 10th group, the driver from the 10th group replied and I said, I'm sorry, I got a response on the second or third group already. So I started to piss off a lot of drivers. And then this kind of the light bulb, I can do something to consolidate, but I have no idea. And then I told you guys, my dad is a remodeling worker, right? He called this van and truck every single day for 30 years in his life. So he has been spending hours and hours waiting for response from a van or truck drivers for 30 years. And then by the time that he knows I can book a van really fast in like 10 minutes by sending a message. Then he started to call me to help him book 2 shifts, one to work, one after work every day. And then he has lots of remodeling worker friends. And then the message got spread out. So I become a call center at the end. In Chinese, okay, my dad's friend is my uncle. Everyone is your uncle, okay? In Hong Kong, in China. So when your uncle calls you, you have to help. If you are not helping, you are a bad kid. So I spend all my time helping them out, and at the end, I think, hey man, I studied in Berkeley, I ran the Silicon Valley, I sold iPhone on eBay. How about building an app to do that? I was not in computer science, and 2 of my co-founder from UCLA and USC, we went to Apple Valley College together. None of us know how to build an app, but we managed to figure out the business model by talking to drivers and a lot of hard work, and that made me prepare for the challenge later on until today. I have a lot of stories, so I'm pretty shocked here.
Very interesting, and I know that you'll probably get a lot of people wanting to hear your stories after the session. My next question I wanted to ask Tracy and then also Stephen. As an entrepreneur, did you ever feel like giving up, and how have you dealt with that?
Should I go first?
Yes.
Well, I think I haven't really felt like I wanted to give up. But it's definitely, there are times when I feel like, okay, I really need to step out of the office more. I think I like my work a little too much. So for me, it's more of a problem of work-life balance and need to spend more time with my friends and family rather than staring at a laptop all day. Well, let me see. Am I missing anything?
No, that's it. That's good.
I think the passion behind the work is really important. Yeah.
Thank you. And Stephen, what about like your previous maybe not GoGoVAN because it's still going strong, right? Maybe you thought about it. I don't know, but your previous ventures, that you exited, right? Or abandoned.
I did. Yeah, one is how I said we switched the business model from selling lunchbox to selling the capacity of vehicles. So that's what I said. But actually,
a pivot, right? Yes.
Yeah, but I said switch the business model. It sounds cool. So for the first startup, the crowdfunding stuff, I guess it's a fail because I didn't. I just don't know how to run a company. I know how to execute an idea, but I don't know how to run a company. That's the end of it. I got some angel funding back at those days, but how to use that funding, how to work closely with the investor is something that really unknown to me. That's a really good learning lessons. I raised 100,000 Hong Kong dollars, so it's not much. So even I raised that, I don't. It's a good learning curve for me to raise millions of dollars later on. So that's the kind of the challenge I have, and I didn't give up, but it was a time that my investor made a really difficult decision. He decided to move back to Canada. He's a Canadian. He came over to Hong Kong to marry a Hong Kong beautiful lady, and then decided to stay here to look for opportunities. And somehow I met him, and then he said, "Yeah, here's a good idea. Let's try it out in Asia." But after 2 months or 3 months, he said, "Hey Steve, I'm sorry, I gotta move back to Canada because my wife asked me to move back." And then well, you're newly married and your newly married wife asks you to move to Canada. If I were him, I would do that. So I was on my own, and then after a while, I kind of lost the energy, and the company is not going anywhere. So that's why I closed it. But at the same time, I got another brilliant idea already. Was the boss ad thing. My two other good friends, Nick and Viv, just graduated from USC and UCLA and come back to Hong Kong. By the time we met, reunion in Hong Kong, because those guys are the guys that kind of my brothers. We met in California in Diablo Valley College. We went to school in the morning and then worked for the same Chinese restaurant as a delivery guy for 2 years.
Wow.
For 2 years. If I'm running out of money, they would give me just cash to fill my tank or help me to fill my tank or something. We can share anything that you can imagine. And we just imagine, okay? And then we sold hot dog or iPhone on eBay together. So by the time that I graduated first and come back to Hong Kong, I told him, hey, I couldn't get a job. I graduated from Berkeley with an okay GPA. And then they said, hey, even you couldn't get a job, that's no way for us to get a job. How about we do something together? So the idea we had is we can make a living on our own and pay off all our tuition in California, out of state, every single penny by ourselves. Why we can't make a living by ourselves here in Hong Kong? Why we have to listen to our parents to look for a job? And that's the reason why I listen to that, hey, let's do something together. And that's the challenge I have, but I can't overcome it with a good team. And then after that, we explore a new opportunity and turn out to be GoGoVAN now. So it's the journey and a lot of challenge, give up all the time, but you have to make the right decision based on your instinct and the information that you had on at that time. And after you make that decision, never regret. Life goes on. That's my belief.
Yeah, so I think one thing that you mentioned is one of your prior ventures, your partner, had to move out of the country, right? Yeah. So it's like what Tracy said, the importance of teamwork, and then when you sort of lose that, it's hard to do it by yourself. So I think if people can keep that in mind when you're trying to do a startup, it's important to, no man is an island, no man or woman is an island, right?
Tell me to keep it short if I'm going too long.
Oh, no, it's good. It's good. And the other thing that I thought that was interesting is I think you said, and this is probably what's going to end up in the newspapers. No, just kidding. There's no media here tonight. In order to you have to first waste 100,000 Hong Kong dollars in order to waste a million Hong Kong dollars properly or something like that, right? Yeah. So that's a good segue to my next question, which I wanted to ask Tony, who's our only VC or former VC on the panel. Back in the day, Tony, and probably today even as a personal angel investor, what differentiates companies that you decide to put money in versus, others that you passed up on?
Well, the standard answer, the standard elements that a VC looks at are more or less 5 things. The first thing is product. Does the product have some sort of innovation, technical defensibility against competitors? Is it something that's truly revolutionary? Number 2 would be market size. This was 5 and maybe 10 years ago. Nowadays it might be different. You always want to invest into a company in a market that maybe, if it does not exist now, but in the foreseeable future, that's going to exceed $1 billion. So $1 billion of market size. The third is competition. Is the market littered with competitors? Obviously, if there's not a competition, most likely the startup that will win is the company that raises the most money. And if you're not a heavily funded VC, when you're investing against the likes of Sequoia or Kleiner Perkins, then the startups of those VCs are going to win. The fourth is the team. That's very important. The founder or the set of founders, through the relationship that you have with them, do they seem like the founders that have dedication, that will persevere, that will last for quite some time, and can they scale and grow with the company as the company raises their subsequent rounds of funding? And then the fifth point is probably the economics of the deal. What I mean by economics is for the $1 million that we put in, based on the percentage ownership that we're going to get, based on the projected amount of financing this company can raise, can we earn a 5x return, a 10x return? And more often than not, actually most of the time, you would hope that this company can generate at least 100 times the return. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in business VC. Now, practically speaking, of course, some of these investments will just be kind of like return on cash. Some may do a 2x or 5x, and more than half the time it would just be a write-off. So, given these 5 elements, I think the most important, and this applies mostly to early stage venture capital investing and not late stage, which is very different ballgame. At the heart of a VC's investment or any sort of investment is their gut. They're just really making a gut choice, a gut decision on whether to put money in or not. And so, both on the VC side as well as on the entrepreneur side, you're really just looking for the right fit. Right? So if one investor says no, it doesn't mean that your company is no good. You just haven't found the right fit, right? And so if you're looking for funding, unless you were with Facebook when they were Facebook, and you walk in and everybody wants to give you checks. Most companies, they spend a lot of time fundraising, and it's not uncommon where you get 20 rejections before you get even one person who is willing to have a second meeting. All right, so it's fine. I mean, sorry. Oh. Well, that's it. The final the key to making an investment is finding the right fit, both on the investor side as well as on the entrepreneur side.
That's great. It's sort of like interviewing for a company that everyone wants to get into. Yeah. And I really like how you broke it down into these sort of 5 dimensions that actually gives everyone a structure to better their chances, right? Now, my next question, I know, Tracy, earlier you talked about the importance of passion, right? And sort of keeping you at the office. You almost have to pull yourself up occasionally. But I wanted to ask this not so much from like a positive, enthusiasm standpoint, but more of what, Andy Grove, who used to be the CEO of Intel, would say, sort of being paranoid, right? So we often, ask entrepreneurs, what keeps you up at night? What are you afraid of happening that would actually jeopardize all of this time and effort that you've put into your startup idea? I wanted to see, if you thought about that for HiStreet.
Definitely, especially since we haven't launched, it's a bit tricky, right? Like nobody even heard about us, and there's more and more competitors coming out as we go. And I think what keeps me up at night, it could be something small, like, okay, who are we hiring next? What are we doing? Because we're doing something that's really labor intensive, and people keep asking us, how are you scaling it, or something like that. And there are tricky questions where I'm like, start questioning, like, is this a viable model? Is there something else we can do? Do we need to pivot? There are some huge questions that can bother me at night, and in a way, you just gotta manage it, right? Like, for me, I use like Asana, and I just kind of jot it all down, like, and if you have a good idea, it's gonna stick the next day. So in a way, just get some good sleep. You need it.
Excellent advice. I'll try to get some good sleep tonight. Stephen, how about you? What keeps you up at night?
Well, that's simple. To answer, one is a problem without solutions. So every day I have a lot of from operations, marketing, wherever it is. Then if you have a solution, I can figure it out tomorrow. Then I can sleep for that night. But a problem without solution is like keep you awake. It's like looking for a solution. And by the time I have a problem without solution, I play this game on my mind. It's like now I'm from idiot becoming crazy people. I play a game with what if. What if I'm Jack Ma? What if I'm Steve Jobs? What would they do with this problem? actually you don't know the answer, but just keep asking yourself, so it keep you even more awake. So that's why, and then I sleep like 4 to 5 hours in average a night. By the time that I really can't sleep, I would just become a force gum, pick up a hat, and then go out run for an hour or two. That really help. And then by the time you get home, it's I'm hell tired. So you gotta sleep, and then by the time you wake up, it's just another good day. Talk to team members, talk to any people that I think of. I have some very good directors. For example, I got some very good shareholders. Just echo what Tony said. Getting the right investor really helps you to move on much faster. Smart money is the most important in my mind. Even though you tell me if you have 50 million what to invest in the company today, but it's all about money without other synergy. I probably need to have a second thought of should I take it or should I take a 10 million deal with a lot of help in terms of logistics or technology or something like that. So I got a lot of mentor shareholders that I can talk to them and ask, hey, my CTO screw up, so what should I do? And then how should I work out this problem and that problem? I need a marketing partner in China who's the best. All these kind of problems, when I talk to them, I know they have some kind of suggestions. No one will give you the best solutions. Okay, if you want to start a company, even though we are from Berkeley, I'm from Harvard Business School, we study a lot of business case. And let's say we study the Walmart case today. 10 years ago, Walmart was doing this. Even though we apply the same problem, same situation here now in Walmart again, we probably won't use the same solutions because it was 10 years ago and now the world changed. So that's what keep me up at night and keep me thinking. Yeah.
Good. So problems without solutions. So my next question, so this has been excellent advice. I want to thank you guys. We're not done yet. We're only halfway through. But now I want to bring it a little more local. So it's very good advice that you guys have given. I think it would pretty much apply wherever you are, whichever country you live in. But we're in Hong Kong, and I know, fortunately, many of you have experience not only working in Hong Kong, but other locations, particularly technology hubs and hotspots. So I wanted to ask my next question to Tony first. What can Hong Kong learn from Silicon Valley or other tech hotspots, especially things that maybe aren't here today, but should be to have a more vibrant startup community?
Do you mean Hong Kong as in Hong Kong people, or Hong Kong as in how you would manage Hong Kong?
However you want to answer it.
If I was the manager of the IT sector in Hong Kong, and trying to, the question was, what can we learn from Silicon Valley? I would think that there's too much learning from Silicon Valley, and so my answer would be actually not too much. I don't think you should model everything you do around Silicon Valley because this is a different place. I mean, the fact that Silicon Valley has this type of investors and how they do investments, how they do term sheets, and how companies get structured, I don't think that Hong Kong has to manage the same way. But rather, develop some sort of tailored sector towards local Hong Kongers. On the angle of Hong Kongers, and how you can learn from Silicon Valley in creating business, I also think that if you're going after the Hong Kong market, you don't need to learn from Silicon Valley. I mean, you should be thinking about just solving the problem the best way you can. Having exposure to Silicon Valley is good, and I think what you can learn from what people do in Silicon Valley is how to be effective, how to leverage your existing resources, existing platforms, and not do everything by yourself. The concept of I think outsourcing is no good. You always want to create your own IP, but definitely if you can use other technologies to help you build technologies. I think, I don't think we should be looking at what Silicon Valley does and say, okay, well, that idea is taken off and, it's applied here. I don't think Stephen was looking at Uber and trying to create Uber of Hong Kong. That's a word. His angle was entirely different, and he basically is the de facto Uber of Hong Kong, right? So, don't copy models. If there's a problem you see in Hong Kong, then just develop one for Hong Kong.
And can I? So you said Hong Kong, like as a city, as a region, or Hong Kong people, right? Is that what you asked me earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you you answered it from the first perspective or both?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Stephen?
Well, I would echo what Tony said. So nowadays people call us like a Uber for logistics, but at the beginning it's nothing related to Uber. We just want to solve a problem how we deliver lunch boxes. So that's pretty simple. And at that time I told myself, hey, Facebook. By the time Mark built Facebook, it's not for us, for Harvard people, for East Coast people. And somewhere it was 2008 or something, 2007, when I was in college. For some reason, my friends started to use Facebook, and then I got into it. And I didn't expect Mark built that for the international student studying in California to know how to learn Facebook in a community college, right? So one key, I always tell even my team member or the people that ask me, hey, I want to invest in your company, how you succeed, how you execute. Hey, dream big, ask more. Yeah, I built GoGoVAN to solve a local logistic problem only happening in Hong Kong. And then by the time I got an investment from a Singaporean who worked in Hong Kong for like 10 years in a hedge fund, and then he told me, hey, Hong Kong and Singapore is pretty similar. And then that's why I jumped into Singapore and started GoGoVAN there. But we need to adjust our business model because the whole economy and all the structure, logistics structure is totally different. Just look at the example of Singapore. To buy a Toyota Hi-Ace, a minivan in Singapore, is one of the most expensive in the world. No uncles in Singapore would put in their own money to buy a Toyota Hi-Ace in Singapore. So you ask any drivers out there, commercial vehicle drivers, they are not using their own money. Even the business owner, they will go secure a contract before they buy the asset. That makes sense. But in Hong Kong, a guy from high school without certificate, they would just lost their previous job as a sales or whatever, and then, hey, how about to drive a van around Hong Kong and make some money? That's the only case that you can experience in Hong Kong around the world. You don't see it in Taiwan. You don't see this in Korea. But in Hong Kong, I want to solve a problem here. So to get back to the questions, should we learn something from Silicon Valley? We should learn any good thing from anywhere from the world. If you want to run a business. So it's not limited to Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley has been running like a V12 engine for a long time to build the rest of the world about startup. We learn all this lean startup concept, MVP model from Silicon Valley. But it's not something that we can only learn from Silicon Valley. To how to tackle competitors. Look at the games that Didi, Kuaidi are playing with Uber. That's something that you can only see from China and learn from China. It's not from Silicon Valley. Have you ever seen a lot of companies subsidize a lot? Those O2O model in China, every single company, they put their investor money to subsidize the users, and they think they can keep the market. But after the subsidies is gone, all the users are gone at the same time, and that's why nowadays we see a lot of companies closing down. I'm learning from them too. If I want to copy the Uber model here in Hong Kong, I would wait until I raise at least $2 to $3 billion US to do that, I guess. So that's my answer. If you want to start a company, do something, solve the problem on your own, and learn from the best, not limited to Silicon Valley or anything else.
Great answers, guys. So my next question is to Tracy. you're starting HiStreet. We heard about the pros and cons of looking at other regions or models. One of the approaches to starting up a startup is using an accelerator or incubator or co-working space like Paperclip. What made you decide to leverage something like Paperclip to help you get started?
First off, it was to get me out of my PJs. I was working from home, and I ended up finding myself like staying in my desk. I'm kind of like ended up being like a hermit, and so I needed to get out of my space and go and meet people. I'm an outgoing person, and I just wanted to network. And I think I tried a good few different co-working spaces when I came back. That was about a year ago, and I ended up liking Paperclip. I think it really depends. Like, I can't really say like, oh, go to Paperclip, right? But I think it depends on what you're going for. There are different co-working spaces for different kind of communities and different like purposes. We, as HiStreet, we're actually based out of Blueprint, so that's like more of a tech startup-y area. There's like the Hive, which is more kind of for creatives. There's bigger spaces, smaller spaces. I have a friend who's like, Paperclip, or some of the other ones, like, they're so open, like, I need more personal space, if you need to be, like, have more privacy, then you want to choose something else. I think there's actually a lot of choices in Hong Kong, so look around, try some different ones, and see what fits. For me, it really worked out. Like, I met my co-founder here, so that's cool.
That's great. So yeah, no, there's definitely strategies in choosing the right co-working space or incubator for the right fit. So my next question is back to Tony. What are the top 2 tips that you would give folks in the audience who are interested in being an entrepreneur, starting up their own company to succeed in Hong Kong or even globally?
Can I ask how many of you are currently running startups? Okay, well, that is a good number of you. Well, for those of you, just keep at it. I'm sure you and I share the same feelings. Sometimes you don't want to be the CEO. Tell me what to do, especially during rough times. But it's once you get up and I think once you figure out the next step, then it becomes more clear. For those who are about to start a company or wish to start a company, I would say, if you already have done your homework, if you feel like you can solve this problem that is really just pounds on your head, just do it, right? Because I think the toughest point is taking that step and doing it. It sounds like it's a huge risk you're taking, but really, in the grand scheme of things, no. I think most people, what they do is they calculate, what is it, the opportunity cost. If you're running a startup, if you want to run your own company, there is no opportunity cost. The cost would be, I think, it's really just the sweat that you put in. And that sweat is really just based on your passion. Once you have made the decision to jump in, I would say that it becomes actually a lot easier because you just have to figure out what the problems are. Why aren't people buying my products? Why aren't people using my service? How do I have to change things in order to get some uptake, get some adoption on any of my customers, be that business or consumers? And it's just this constant, looking for problems and looking for solutions and solving these problems. And similar to what Stephen said, you go to bed at night thinking about solving problems. That's because you're in it. And once you're in that mode, it's almost like working out. You find that when the first 5 or 10 minutes when you run, it's actually kind of tough. Between 10 minutes to 30 minutes or 45 minutes, it's actually kind of not that hard because you've already gone into that groove. That's as much as how I can explain it. If you haven't done it yet, and if you're about it and done your homework, do it. And second point though, if you are thinking about doing it, I think most people think about, maybe I can do this as a side business first and see how it goes. No. If you're passionate about something and you want it to succeed, you gotta give it 110%, not your 20% of the time outside of work from 9 to 5 when you go home after you take a shower and after you have dinner, then you're working on it between 8 and 10. No, you should be working on it between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m., not 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I think that's it.
Thank you, Tony. Stephen, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I have two angles to look at it. For those who have started your startup or your own company. Oh, first, if you are an entrepreneur and someone asks you, are you running a company? I will say, hey, me. I'm running my companies. But just now you're like, I'm running my company. I do want a company that no one should know about it. So you have to be really, really confident. And if you are wanting it, and just like Tony said, if you are having a job and then you decide to start a business or something, and keep thinking you quit the job, and the idea that at that moment you are working on or thinking about is not as valuable as your job. The opportunity is not that big. A lot of investors ask me this question. So if you want to start this company, this idea, and you think it's really, really good idea, but you can't quit your job, that means this idea is not as valuable as no matter what kind of salary you are making. Make sense, right? If you think it's really working, and it make like $100,000, whatever it is, then you should quit your job now, right? So that's one angle to look at. If you don't have that mentality or ready to it, then you should really think about it. And by the time you think about it, it's echo Tony said is, have you done your homework? I can tell you two examples. By the time I started my lunchbox company, although it's not working really well, I did my homework. How? Very, very simple. I spent days and days and days with my two friends in Chachantan, those Chinese restaurant, to count how many people buy takeaway during peak hours. You know how much volume of boxes this restaurant is going to sell. And all the cost is like a lot of milk tea and ice lemon tea to keep counting. That's it. And then by the time I started GoGoVAN, how many van out there? And then how much money are these drivers making? How much idle time in between these drivers per trip? What is the average price per trip? How much gross income they have? What is their family size? All these numbers are going to help you. And then when by the time I decide to work on GoGoVAN, where should I start? I stand on every single main road, the grocery store, the main road here. I don't know how to pronounce it in English all the time. So there's a lot of bridge, right? Just stand there. My friend, three of us, one count how many vans and truck pass by, and then I count how many vans with a logo on it. That means a company vehicle. And then another friend, count how many vehicles without a logo. That means a freelance driver. And then after spend like 2 weeks or 3 weeks in Kowloon, new territories and Hong Kong Island, we came up with a statistic around 48% vehicles belongs to individuals. At that time, we tried to research online, whatever it is, we tried our best to find that number, but we couldn't. So that's why we counted ourselves. And then after we started GoGoVAN for like 8 or 9 months, a Polytechnic University professor told me they have done a research like 10 years ago, and that the individual driver's number was at 49-point-something%. We were damn accurate. So we were like, wow, we are genius. But that's the homework that you need to do. No one tells you the number, then you have to figure out. So that's even if you get to management consulting, the guesstimate question that you get, actually you calculate out, right? And there's a lot of facts and numbers out there around us. You just need to observe and find a way. That's my answer to the question.
That's a great story. And actually, I'm glad you mentioned management consulting, because that story reminds me of a project that I did at Bain. You know, Bain does a lot of due diligence work, especially when we're doing projects for Bain Capital. When they have an investment thesis, they want to know, they want certain questions answered, right? And it really is just, you know, going out and asking and counting yourself. And the way Bain did it is we had what we call the Secret Army program, and we would actually go out to the top universities, you know, in our metro area, and then there will be students who are basically graduate students studying for their, you know, doctorate or whatever, master's. And of course, you know, many of them wanted to maybe interview for Bain or get into Bain afterwards. So we would basically almost use them as contractors. It's a expandable and contractable, you know, workforce, if you will. And when we had to do like telephone surveys, especially ones at night in different time zones, we would tap this resource. We have relationships with the universities, and there were many students who would love to get that kind of experience on their resume. And it was, you know, I had to come up with the questions they had to ask, and then sort of the flow on if they say A, then go to this next question. If they say B, go to another question. And it's just making lots of calls and you know, getting the data. And not, you know, oftentimes we can't even find a validation point, right? Like just that. Yeah. So that's a great that you guys were accurate counters. So my next question is, you know, there's been some developments in Hong Kong recently. I think we've mentioned Uber, for example. I think everyone knows, you know, what they're going through. But in general, you know, has the environment improved or worsened for entrepreneurs and startups? And Stephen, why don't you take this first?
A lot of my friends told me because of GoGoVAN story, the community here is kind of improved a little bit because we proved a startup from Hong Kong can raise like tens of millions of US dollars. That's why people are kind of excited because they think the money are pulling in here. So I think it's improving, but in terms of the environment in general, I guess to build a company to start a startup, it's kind of trend nowadays. A lot of people that I talk to, no offense, but I really don't think they did the homework that I did. Even sometimes when I ask them, hey, how to open up a coffee shop? So I think it's very, very simple. You just count if you want to open a coffee shop downstairs, and then you calculate the rent and then the variable cost, and then calculate how many people walk by the street per hours, and then within that amount of number of people, you want to grab 2%, 5%. If that's the number that you can cover the cost, then you do it. If not, no. But when I talk to those entrepreneurs, they haven't calculated their own cost. They haven't even tried to figure out. I haven't figured out my revenue model, but I know how to build market share and the GMV, the numbers that. What if I take a percentage of the revenue that I'm processing over my platform? I did all these numbers before I started the company. So in terms of the quality of the people, they are not mature enough like the people I met in China. They really know the numbers. They really know what they are doing, and they really know what kind of people they are going after to be their team member. In Hong Kong, it's still like it's a kind of like when everyone is doing it, I try to do it, something like that. So that's my sense of the community right now. But I do see a lot of great startup from here and great stories. Just 2 days ago, I guess our financial secretary posted a blog post on his page, his blog, talk about Hong Kong startup. If you should check it out, and a lot of great stories out there. And last Sunday, I met a company. The CEO of a company called iClick, which actually is one of the biggest digital advertising platform in China, partnered with Baidu and Tencent. And this is a company created by a team of Hong Kong people, ex-Yahoo, Hong Kong Yahoo people. A lot of great stories. Don't stick with the startup that we saw on TechCrunch or Tech in Asia every day nowadays. If you want to start something, it's a company and learn from other companies. not necessary to be just the TMT sector or technology. That's my thinking about to comment this community.
Great, thank you. Tracy, how about from your end? Anything that you're observing that is either favorable or unfavorable to entrepreneurs like yourself?
I am a natural optimist, and I see all the positive sides of things. So I'm seeing, how there's more community involvement. I see all the, like Rise conference and more kind of like big events that bring in more awareness to the whole startup community and the startup culture. I think that's a good thing. We're trying to, I personally believe in starting from the young. So, we're trying to build a culture where we advertise what our company values are. We want to have good, fun learning environment for young people who may not have that much experience, and it's something cool to try. So I think I'm hopeful for what is out there, and maybe call me young or naive or something, but I think there's a lot of potential.
So the glass is half full.
It always is for me.
Great. Tony, how about you? What are you seeing happening in Hong Kong that's for
I think Hong Kong has always been a great place to start a business. Be that 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and 5 years later, or 10 years later, because it's incredibly easy to set up a company. You just go walk over to Wan Chai and you just apply for a company, and it's very quick. You get it within 2 weeks. You get a business registration, and off you go. Compare that to the States. You usually have to get a lawyer involved to get things right. You have to sign up at the state of California and EDD programs, and you have to think payroll and everything. I mean, it's a lot of overhead. Hong Kong is actually very easy to start business. I think the news with GoGoVAN and maybe a couple other startups are good for the sector because I think what the sector has historically lacked is really just an example. A Zuckerberg of Hong Kong, a Bill Gates of Hong Kong. There are moguls of Hong Kong in the telecommunications sector, the media sector, but not in the technology sector. And so I hope, Stephen, you're the first. And once we get a few companies, that becomes what the term that people use now are unicorns. Companies that are over $1 billion valuation. Then people will flock in, right? And I think Hong Kong is just missing some of these examples that are kind of motivating other newcomers to get into entrepreneurship. But you know what? Hong Kong has always been easy to start business. I don't think it's worse or better than it has ever been before.
That's great. So my last question before we open it up to the floor for everyone to ask some questions of our panelists. Again, Tony, it's for you because you've been in a VC role. You've actually successfully sold prior companies that you own. What advice would you give to Stephen or Tracy or others in the room about having a great exit strategy?
I can't speak for large companies getting acquired. I mean, that's for maybe some of you in stands who work in the financial industry. You talk about bolt-on or transformational acquisitions. In technology, especially in smaller companies, I'm sure most of you heard about Apple hires or these technology IP hires. In the case for us, you really have to look at your own case or your deal case by case. I had a Facebook application back in 2007, 2008 when Facebook platform first opened. It was a top 25 app, so it was generating traffic and users that were interesting to some investors as well as some competitors. And so when we looked at whether we wanted to continue building the business, we actually got a term sheet to continue to build the business. We also was seeing some kind of deterioration in metrics having RockU, Slide, this is pre-Zynga days. Maybe some of you have heard Slide, RockU. Zynga became Zynga, but before Zynga, the Zyngas were Slide and RockU having raised 30, 50, maybe even 100 mil on Facebook apps. And we were doing the same. But what happened with Slide and RockU, they eventually went out of business or got acquired based on assets. I think RockU is still running today, having changed management control. But what happened with us was we looked at Facebook apps and we thought, you know what, I think over the next 1, 2, or 3 years it's just going to be incredibly tough. And so we decided, hey, why don't we see what we can get for the assets that we have. We have users, we have traffic, and we're a Facebook application, which was still very new at the time for just kind of straight .com companies. The app was called Make New Friends, MNF, that's right. It was kind of hot and on, but less. It had an element of dating, but it was more kind of socially oriented, where you just kind of meeting people and wanting to kind of develop that connection. And so we looked at direct competition and adjacent competition. The adjacent competition was we identified as eHarmony. So somebody that was not in the Facebook platform, but also was in the dating space, in the .com space. So we approached eHarmony. We're thinking about exiting this business. Is this something that you're interested in? And we had many rounds of discussions. Met the entire management team. They gave us an offer. We went to our direct competitor, which was Suits. They were also a top 20 Facebook application, but they had just raised, I think, around between 60 and 20, and so they had some money to buy some competing apps for expanding user bases. And so we chose on the basis of not wanting to join the acquirer, which would have been eHarmony. I didn't want to move down to LA. My partner also didn't want to move down to LA. I wanted to do something different. And so we chose Zeus. Was very happy to display our application, our users, and our IP, as well as keys to our users. And that's how we wound up with that.
That's great. As they say, and the rest is history. Okay, so I know some of you may have questions, so I'm going to open it up, and we're going to see if folks can actually stand up and speak loudly enough to ask their question. If not, then I'll run over with a mic. So please raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question to any of our panel members. Jeannie.
Hi, my question is very direct. I want to know if your company is already break-even. If yes, how long after the creation? Thank you.
Keeping it break-even is pretty important. I would say, personally, with the company that we're running right now, yes, we are.
So after how long?
After how long? We broke even. We raised funding. We expanded. So I think a year to a year and a half, we broke even. We raised funding, so it was a mode of trying to expand, and we spent more than we profited off for it, because that's what we had to do. And in the past half year, we're breaking even.
Anyone else want to take that?
Well, for us, HiStreet, we haven't launched yet, so we don't really have a customer base yet. I'll get back to you later.
Thank you.
Well, I'm still burning money every day. So I wanted this company for 2 years, haven't break even yet. That's one of my milestones that I sent to my shareholder, but they come back with an answer, hey Stephen, capture the market share. Let's not talk about profit or getting paid at this moment. So it's one of the objectives very soon, but we don't have a timeline on it. But I guess as a company, to break even is the first objective after all. Otherwise, it's not a company, it's like a charity. I'm doing a charity right now. So Yeah, I probably come back on that. I don't know if my company survive next year, so you will see. If you don't see all the brand around Hong Kong with my logo on it, probably we are done. If you think you see more vehicle on that, then that's the time that we should charge that.
But you do have a salary, I hope.
Comparing to the folks sitting here, my salary is like very small, bare enough for me to stay with my parents, and walk to office. I'm kidding, but it's pretty close. So imagine if you start a company and salary is not a part of your calculation at all. Yeah, I stay in the office. I live in the office. My mom hardly see me every day. So and my all my staff thinking I'm crazy because I kind of afford enough with my company, and that's true. So no, I never kind of manage on how much money I can put on the pocket right now. But I believe once I build a really good company and all the people working with really hard with this company, they are making good money, then that's a good time for me to get some return for myself.
So a very patient man, Stephen. Well done. Great question, Jeannie. Anyone else want to ask a question? Yes.
My name's Leo. So my question is, everyone's very if you have a great idea, what do you do to start like organizing or like planning for the start? Like, do you make a prototype first, or do you do a lot of research first? Like, what should you do?
I can say what not to do. A lot of people, they're like, I have an idea, but I can't tell you what it is. It's really secret, I don't want you to steal it. I think that's not to do. I think it's really important for you to talk to people, and that's part of your research, right? That you need to brainstorm off of each other and, you know, learn about what's out there. Like, you might think it's a good idea, but 10 out of 10 people you talk to say that's crap.
For me, I guess I kind of talk about it when I was answering the questions. Do everything you can, no matter homework, research, I name it, to validate your idea is going to work. For the 100 drivers the first 100 drivers I talked to, 100% of them, they said they are not going to use GoGoVAN. That's true. They was like, hey, it's stupid to look at the phone and take orders. You know how this world work, kid? We use radio frequency, we listen, we don't watch, we are driving, you know? That's true. They are speaking from their heart, and that's true. And what I did after talking to 100 of them, I was like, oh, so what we should do? And then we talked to another 100 drivers. And at that time, I know they're going to say no. And then we just need to ask one more question. Okay, don't keep me out first. We were knocking on the windows on the street, talking to the drivers, and asked. We just had a A4 paper with Saipan, literally Saipan, with no Photoshop, all this stuff. Step 1, step 2, step 3, how it's going to work on GoGoVAN. At that time, we call it Project X. We don't even have a name. Show it to the drivers. Hey, I have this kind of thing. Do you want to try? Of course, they said no. And then at that time, we said, okay, tell me 3 reasons. Just tell me 3 reasons. Don't kick me out. I'm not charging you money. I can pay you back $10 if you don't pick me. So they will tell you 3 reasons why they think it's stupid and why they think it's not working. And then we put this as the top 3 priority into our prototype. This is the top 3 problems to solve. And then by the time for the next batch of drivers, hey, don't kick me. I know you have these 3 questions, and I have the perfect answers. Then they will, what's that, kid? Tell me. And then you know they are on code. So that's how we test the market. So and I don't know how to teach this to you guys. Is how much you believe in your ideas. I'm the crazy kind of guy. If I said I want to get in Berkeley, there's no way I can't get it. Right? If someone, okay, I was the student government president of a California community college. I found out I was the first ever as an international student to get that position. At that time, I was like, "Hi Steven, your English is really, really bad." At that time, I was studying in community college. What do you expect? I'm having English class with these old folks from Korea, Japan. We hardly can communicate in English. And at that time, I said, I want to be a student government president of a community college. And then I was like, most of the people say, "Hey, this stupid. It's stupid if I'm just telling it, but not acting on it. So if I try, and then at the end of the day, I try my best, and then I'm stupid, but tried my best. It's kind of stupid. But if I didn't try, but I just talk about it, and then at the end I said, hey, I couldn't be the student government president because I never tried. Oh, you are totally stupid. So that is really stupid. So that's kind of a lifelong experience that I had. As soon as I know I want to do it, I will prove, no matter what, that is going to work. But sometimes it's not going to work anyway, and then you just need to think of another angle to prove it, and then keep working, and that's what I learned from most of the greatest entrepreneurs out there, including my shareholders. One of my shareholders is the CEO of 91.com in China. He sold the company for 1.9 billion, one of the highest valuations back at those days to Baidu, and he's the same kind of guy that if I can't sell it for 1.5 billion, I'm thinking how I can sell the company for 1.9 billion. If he start with 100 million, he will be done over one night, get the money out of the windows, out of the door, and then start a new company. But he keep thinking how to get over 1 billion valuation back in those days in China. So he did. So that's my advice to you, to yourself, and try everything you can.
How did you look for the driver? Like,
Sorry?
How did you look for the driver?
How do I look for the drivers?
You just go across them and talk to them?
Oh, on the street. On the street, no matter. As soon as a driver, look, as soon as a guy sitting in a van or a truck, I talk to them. Okay? And then at night time, okay, I started 6 in the morning, all the way to 5 or 7 p.m. To walk around Hong Kong. Back at those days to be good drivers. Because all these drivers, they are driving their vehicle around Hong Kong, right? But I don't stop at 7 or 5. The team will take it, a few of us will take a rest in the McDonald's in Bunton. That's the place that we hang out. Starbucks was too expensive, McDonald's is good. 20 of us, we have a meal, including dinner. So we kind of discuss what we learned on that day. And then we kind of draw the strategy, what kind of prototype we have in mind. And then we start around 10 p.m. We visit every single parking lot in Hong Kong. So in the morning, all the drivers driving their vehicle out. But where do they go at night? And they are concentrated. I put flyers in every single vehicle, van and truck, in the parking lot, flyers. And we know the conversion rate is 2%. It's all about hard work. I started the company with only 20,000 Hong Kong dollars as a team, not by myself, as a team, 20,000 Hong Kong dollars. That's how we started business. So if you answer me the question, I don't have time, I have a job, and I have no money to start a business. That's bullshit. Okay, I started my company with $20,000. That's it. And how I find the drivers, if they are not running around, then I go visit them in the parking lot by leaving them a message. The next day, if they are interested, after reading the flyers, just like half of this paper, very, very shitty kind of quality because I made it on a Photoshop with a guy that don't know how to use Photoshop. They see the message, if it's right, and do a lot of A/B testing. We put version A in this parking lot, and version B in this parking lot, and version C in this parking lot, and see which parking lot have the best conversion rate. That means the message is good. So after that, we know the best message can get at like 2% conversion rate. Then we can count how many flyers we need to distribute every night to achieve a target of 3,000 drivers or 4,000. And then I use this number to look for my first technical founder. He's a really good engineer, and then I told him, hey, I have this really good idea, but I don't have a guy there to build the app for me. And then he said, I can build it for you for free, but you have to I have to invite him as a team member. And then at the same time, you just need to prove it. After we build this thing, someone is going to use it, and it's not a trust. It's a trust not because of you said it's trust. It's because someone built the product out and they are not going to use it. And the ones that know are the users. If that's the case, I'm okay with the result. If the result is something that I built and you did not do your part and you waste 3 months of my time, That's bullshit. Okay. Why I always say bullshit? My company have four cultures. One is dare to venture, entrepreneurial spirit. Everyone we recruit have to be dare to venture. We ask every single candidate, what is the most exciting stuff or adventure that you have done in your life, something like that. And then no bullshit, have fun, and then no evil, that kind of stuff. So I keep saying it nowadays. So remind my team member, and that's what I did to hire to recruit drivers.
Actually, on that front, you did talk about that you weren't CS, you didn't know how to program. Can you walk us through a little bit of the process from going from sort of a business idea, translating that to someone that's actually building it in the digital world?
So the question is how we translate the business model into a real kind of product. We build a lot of prototype and a lot of wireframing and use that wireframing as the benchmark if it's going to work by validating by the drivers and users. I wish my dad is the best user out there, but he doesn't read anything in English or anything about technology. So I really walk around. I spend a lot of time in Mongkok area or those retail shop and material shop. Talk to the owners. I have this thing, and you are using a smartphone. How can I make this work for you? And then we keep showing them the prototype. Once we confirm that's the flow, and then the features that we need, then we translate into kind of a technical spec, which is just some drawings and arrows. This when you click this button and then you go to this page, that kind of stuff to my partner, the technical founder. Yeah, cool. Very simple. You don't need a degree to do that. It's basic human communication. Make sure the other guy understands what you are talking about.
Right?
So all three of you started and have started integration with clients in the cycle. Some of you are just launched, some of you have been launched for a few years now. You've worked on startups in the past as well as achieved. How do you feel like the reception, like when you tell your family and friends that you're starting a business or that you're doing your job, like do you feel like that reception has changed or how do people react? How do your family members react? Hey, I'm doing my job, or I'm going to do something. It's going to make me no money for a long time.
I think within your family, it's very based on your kind of nuclear family and how your extended family, how they feel about it. And I think each person has a different case. But I think if you're talking about the reception of the general public, it depends on where you are. If you're on the East Coast in the States, hey, that's kind of cool. If you're on the West Coast, it's almost like, hey, that's what my other friend does, and what my other friend does, and there are sort of conversations going on right over there and right over there. So it's normal. It's kind of like the norm. In Hong Kong, I would say, there isn't, how would I say, a negative reaction when you say that you're trying to start a company. Because I think in the past, if you start a company, it's because maybe you just can't find a job. Is there a positive? I think it's getting better. Yeah. I think we need more stories so that people think that starting up a company can deliver you incredible rewards. I think people also have to understand is that it's quite a lot of hard work. So I think the situation is getting better. Definitely not worse.
For me, I think in general, it's the older generation that are like, what? You studied biology and then you did photography and then you're now having people walk through the street shop by shop and get all of that into an app. For me, my parents and my family have been very supportive. I've shown our demo app to them. We get feedback from them. My parents especially, like, they're not like, you gotta be a doctor, you gotta be a lawyer kind of people. Maybe they're more like, when are you gonna sell that company for $10 billion? But, I think in general, young people mostly are more like, oh, that's cool. Tell me more about it. And keeps the momentum going.
You don't have to take it if you want to.
Yeah, I'm from a Chinese family, and I'm kind of the most educated in both from my dad's side or my mom's side family. And by the time I graduate Berkeley, they think, oh, you guys are going to get like a 50,000 salary, that kind of investment bank or something. I did apply for them, but no one hired me. Seriously. I tell you one story. I asked Peter's help on how to get in Bain and company by the time I graduate. I sent him an email on how to do that. I seriously tried, but I failed.
Actually, it was my bad advice.
So even though I started the company, I started a lot of projects. My dad was, and my mom was like, "What are you doing?" And your uncle's daughter is getting a job in HSBC. She's only graduated from high school. You should do that. They keep doing that for, I was graduating in 2010. They keep doing that for 4 years until recently. My dad saw me on newspaper or something like that, and I can get him a vehicle really fast. Without my help, he can call my call center and then think, this guy is working something that seems legit or something solid. So he stopped asking me what I'm doing. That's the culture that we are in, and I guess embrace it. I'm from this kind of family. If I love what I'm doing, what's wrong? And then at the end of the day, I have this kind of mentality to my family. I don't know if right or wrong is. So I know what I'm doing. Come on, mom. So that's my answer.
Great, and I think with that we'll wrap up the official part of the panel. There's still time and plenty of pizza and soda, I think. So please don't get up yet. Please make use of the time to network and ask any other questions that you may have wanted to, but didn't raise your hand fast enough of our panelists as we mingle. But please do join me in a round of applause to thank our wonderful panelists. So very insightful, honest, and entertaining answers. So thank you guys very much. As a show of appreciation, the Berkeley Club has a little bit, just a token. We're a public university, so expectations too high. And I will, in closing, if you guys enjoyed tonight's event, obviously Paperclip has a wonderful venue. But Berkeley Club of Hong Kong, as Vaishnavi mentioned, we do organize events, 1 or 2 per month. I will make a plug for a couple of our upcoming events. So every year on Thanksgiving, we organize a joint university alumni club event with Yale, Stanford, and Harvard. So that's coming up Thursday, November 26th. So if you aren't already on our mailing list, please come speak to me afterwards. I'll make sure you get on our mailing list and you can get the details for that. And also, we have our annual year-end dinner, November 28th. That's a bit more formal of an occasion. That'll be at the Dynasty Club in Wan Chai, which is basically the co-located with the Grand Hyatt. And we have a famous person who studied at Berkeley, Kenneth Tsang. He's an actor. If you guys, so I'm not originally from Hong Kong, so my Cantonese is so bad, I'm just going to describe it in English, but there's a show on TV, it's like about, 4 senior guys, right? So he's one of them, and they're always goofing around. So he's been in lots of movies. He's our keynote. Oh, so what's his Chinese name? Okay. Okay, so just a couple of our upcoming events, and Stephen, I think the one success factor he forgot to mention was that he was for a couple years on the executive committee of Berkeley Club of Hong Kong.
Yeah,
So we're always looking for volunteers, right? So thank you very much, and I look forward to talking to each one of you during our networking. And I think Paperclip will be generous and let us, go past 9:30 since we're running a little bit behind today. So thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, very